two legs don't just become one leg and you got a horse. Just one big leg in the front. I would put that on the ground. Yeah, I would put that on the ground. All right, and let's see. When class starts in about 1.5 more minutes, you can set your transfers aside, and you don't need to work on those while I'm talking. So we got about 1 more minute. You'll have time to finish the transfer before we start painting this white horse. Eyes, nose. This line for the leg. Maybe a little bit of this. A little bit of that. Make sure to get the butt. So don't worry if you don't finish on time. If you're finished, let me see. Go ahead and lift up your paper. That is fine. Go ahead and carefully take your paper off and set it to the side. Take this paper off and set it to the side. Maybe just you can pull the tape back so it doesn't get over everything. All right, I think it is about that time. Oh, we still got students coming in. All right, class has started. Go ahead, pencils down. We'll have time to do the transfer later. Pencils down. Just set that paper, push it away from you. Don't be tempted to open your iPads. Don't be tempted to continue your transfer. You don't need to do this. Right? So if you see on the horse drawing, you don't need to draw the shadows like how we did Sally. Go ahead and stop. You didn't need to draw the shadows. Okay, so when it comes time to paint, you can erase that. Only the outline and a little bit of details on the inside. That will come in later. Alright, we're going to do an activity. Learn how to think and see color. Another word for this might be how to analyze the colors that we see in life. How do I know the color that I'm looking at in real life is what I should paint in my paint palette, what I'm mixing up, and what I'm putting on my paper? How do I know that's the correct color? It's a much trickier idea than what you might think now, right? Oh, I see it's red. Take the red paint, put it on the paper. Maybe, maybe not. So there's 2 activities planned. Depending on how fast we paint, we might only get here. And the next class, we'll go through and we'll talk about how to mix shadows, blah, 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 and we'll use the oil pastels. So on your tables are oil pastels. We're not going to need those until we get to about number 10, right? So if we only get to maybe 5 or 6, then we won't need the oil pastels. So resist the urge to open up the oil pastels. I know they're waxy, they feel good, they like to get messy. Just resist the urge to mess with those for right now. We've seen this before. Right? Everybody knows the color wheel. We have the primary colors, the secondary colors. Without looking, oh, the light's going to show you anyways. What are the 3 colors that all the colors are made out of? Anybody?
Red, blue,
And what? Blue. Red, yellow, blue. Right? When we're talking about what's called additive, and this gets so complex, you can get a PhD in just knowing color. basically throw away your black. You have black in your palettes, but in the future we're not going to use black. All color is made from red, yellow, blue when we're talking about paint. When we're talking about your computer screen, does anybody know what all the colors are made out of? You ever get a little bit of water on your iPad and it magnifies the pixels? Has that ever happened? No? Do you guys know what 3 colors exist inside the computer? RGB, red, green, blue. So when we're talking about light, that's different, right? That's red, green, blue. But for traditional art class, we're talking about paint, oil, pastel, stuff like that, color pencils. We are thinking red, yellow, blue as the primary colors. Come on in! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. Can you sit next to Sally? On the other side of Sally? On the other side. There we go. All right. So we know primary colors, secondary colors. Yellow plus blue equals. Yellow plus blue even. Yellow plus blue equals. Green. Red plus blue equals. Purple. So that leaves what? Red plus yellow. Peggy. Orange. Right? Those are the secondary colors. Green, orange, purple. Then we get into yellow, green, green, blue, orange, red, red, orange, blah, blah, blah. That's the tertiary or the third level colors. We don't have to think about those right now. Whenever we're talking about color, they can be a little bit warm or a little bit cool, right? Even red is, you associate as a warm color. There can be a cool red. Let me turn the lights off here. Maybe you can see it better. It's very subtle. I'm going to post the QBT in the WeChat group. But that red is cooler. It's not just darker in value, right? We've been talking about value, right? Value scale, value 1, blah, blah, blah. It's not just because it's darker. It's actually cooler, right? So this might be a fire out of a blowtorch. And that might just be a fire out of like a lighter, right? Or a candle, right? This one's just a little bit cooler. Same with blues. Blues, naturally, they're cool, but you can have a warmer blue. Green goes the whole way. If you notice, when it's time to open up the oil pastel set, you're going to notice there's way, way more green colors than any other color. And I've mentioned it before. When we were evolving sight, right? We evolved to the humans we are today, if that we're talking strictly in a scientific sense, right? Why do you think we see more green than anything else? We lived in the jungles, we lived in the forests, we needed to know the differences between all these little greens. Remember that in the back of your mind. Store it in the back of your mind for right now, right? There's some brown greens that are more warm. There's neutral greens that aren't either warm or cold. And then there's cooler greens. When we think about mixing the paint, tints, tones, shades. This is just add white, color plus white, that's a 10. Color plus black, that's a shade. For my class, we're never going to do shades. Almost never, 99% never use black. If you go to art school, some of us want to go to school, pursue arts. First thing they tell you, you got this brand new, nice, shiny paint sets. They say, all right, everybody, open up your paint set. Get rid of the black, throw it away. And the whole trash can full of black paint. I don't even know why they include it. Because the professor's going to make you mix black. And we'll get into how to do that. This tone is just the color plus gray. There's a better way of doing this. We just got to get through this until we get to what we want. The thing that I want you to notice is as you add white, or as you add gray, or as you add black, it becomes less, what's the word that we would use? What's the word? What's happening pure. That's a good word. In art, we say chroma. Really what that means, saturation, intensity, how strong is the color, right? So in your mind, it's kind of like an XY axis, right? Value, how light, how dark, and now we have the other part of the axis, how bright, or how much chroma, how chromatic. This is more of a 3D model, not just 2D XY axis. When we talk about color, you actually have a 3D model of all colors in your mind. This is the color wheel value, so you can move the color wheel up and down and out. Expand the color wheel into chroma intensity. So when we think about color, when we see a color, you need to say to yourself at least two things. We'll talk about the third thing next. First two things. What value? How light, how dark? Now, how much chroma? How intense is the color? Color is tricky. Color is so tricky. And our brains are tricky. Our brains are very powerful, but it's tricky. We talked about this last time. This poster right here. I asked everybody, is this Asian person, Hispanic person, African person, Middle Eastern person, right? We had a good guess. We know that she's not yellow and blue and pink skin, right? We understand when we look at this poster that that's the light bouncing off. So light can bounce around and affect the color. And we had to learn how to see through that, because if we're in the jungle, like you said, all the light is going to be green, and that orange tiger that's trying to eat us, the light is going to bounce around on the leaves and make that orange tiger look green. But our brains are strong enough to realize past that and see that it's actually orange. We talked a little bit, it's perceived color versus local color. We'll go into it more as we go through our color unit. For now, it's just something to think about. But color can still trick us, and light can still trick us. Our brains are powerful, but they're not super powerful. What are some things that we notice about the color squares? Just the squares, not the lines. The squares. Anybody, when you feel like talking, say anything. Whatever you notice, observation or question, statement. Do we notice anything about what we see? Let me turn these lights off so we can see it better.
Yes, with underline. It seems like
These ones? Are these lighter or darker in value than these red squares?
I think they are the same.
They're probably the same, right? We've all seen the optical illusions on the internet, right? The reason for this, and this green is the same as that green. The reason for this is called simultaneous contrast. There's a life lesson, a philosophical lesson that applies to every subject, applies to your life, spirituality, science. It's a big idea. You don't see just the red when you look at it. What do you see when you look at the red? What else do you see when you look at the red? Let me rephrase that. When you look at the red, what is affecting how you see it? What changes it? Around it. So, this is an important lesson just in life in general. You never really see a color in a vacuum by itself. You always see something in relation to something else. Now this is an idea that exists not just in art, but like also in philosophy. Like if we get into Hegel and Marx, we talk about dialectics, it's a lot, right? You don't see something by itself. It just doesn't exist by itself. It exists with everything around it. So when you're looking at a color, not only do you say what value, how bright is it, where on the color wheel is it, but you have to look, am I being tricked by everything else around it? Just being aware of this phenomenon for the rest of your lives, if you remember this class, you can never go back. It will change how you see the world forever, in a way. I mean, I'm kind of blowing it out of proportion, but it's true. For the rest of your life, you might question, what color actually is that? That's hard to determine. I do that all the time. I mean, colors are so ambiguous, and I live my life as an artist, but also, and as a teacher. But I might run into something, and the light is bouncing around, and there's some neon light reflecting, and then, what color is that? How would I paint that if I was going to paint that? And you'll run into these weird, I don't know colors all the time. And it's crazy because since you were a baby, yellow is yellow, purple is purple, green is green. When you start really, really noticing reality, it's not as clear as that. It's a little bit trickier. They say seeing is believing, but just like in value, when we talked about how your brain searches out contrast because it evolved to see contrast and it puts contrast there around the outline, right? We talked about that, the aura effect. If it doesn't exist, I'm not actually glowing, but the brain puts that contrast in there. It's going to make you question, what am I actually seeing and experiencing, or what do I actually know? That's a hard thing to really get to the bottom of. When we talk about the philosophy of visual arts, it connects with the philosophy of life, and that question right there connects to both. It's a trend throughout both. So let's see some more examples. Simultaneous contrast. What do we notice about the two smaller squares in the middle? Same, different. One cooler, one warmer. Observations, questions. Any of the teachers observing will have any guesses? Yes?
I think they're the same, but it's easier to see the one on the right.
Ha ha ha, I've tricked you.
They're not the same?
They are not the same. Whoa. Let me next to the slideshow. I gotta move my little my shape around. Two very different colors, but because I surrounded them with, or the internet surrounded them by other colors, they appear to be the same. This is important for painters. Sometimes you feel like you put a color down on the page and you go, oh, I ruined it. I made a mistake. I mixed the wrong color, I put it on the page. Nothing is permanent. You can always shift the things around it to make that color a little bit more how you like. You don't always have to just paint over it. You can paint over it, right? Paint just goes, unless you're talking about watercolor. But you can also shift the things around it to make that color do what you want it to do. It's never over. Here we have some that are really affecting the value. And then this green, it's the same green as this, but it's so hard to see. It's there, right? That's called scintillation, and we'll get into that in the next couple classes. We'll talk about scintillation. Basically, when you match value and then jump across the color wheel. Scintillation is difficult. We'll get into it. I don't want to distract you with it right now. But it's changing the value. What you surround it with changes how you perceive it. What it's surrounded with changes how you perceive it. story, poem, picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral, philosophical, or political one. There's a life lesson here. So, for this exercise, we're going to paint together. We're only going to use red, yellow, blue. Don't even worry about the white and the black that's on the page. I want you to just do as exactly as I do, but we can start by turning on the lights and making an outline using the transfer method. You do not need to draw all the shadows. All right? Just do a simple outline. So some of you are sitting around waiting for the rest of the class to do their transfer. Those of you that got to class early, thank you. When you're done, come raise your hand. I'll check your outlines, see if you're done. Like I said, you do not need to draw all the shadows. Like in our portraits, we did the shapes, we traced the shapes of all the different values. You don't need to do that today. Just get a good outline. Nice, simple, cartoon style is fine. Alright, when you're done, raise your hand. I'm going to come and check your transfer, and if you've got all the lines, then I will tell you to take it off. Easily, you're good. Just chill out, hang out for a second. Peggy, do you need a pen or a pencil? That's not going to work to transfer. Go ahead and use this one. Mechanical pencil won't do the transfer because you have to press hard. Don't get too caught up on like fancy details. Just a really simple, quick, fast outline. Do you need an eraser? Pencil? Pencils in the back. Yeah, are you done? Cool. Go ahead and. Alright, and then fold the tape over so it doesn't stick to your paper. Alright. Oh, no, you want to get the side of the sheet of the lines. The cast shadow is not important, so if you're done with the horse, you don't need to do the cast shadow. Do that later. Horse is the important part. No, you don't need to draw the shadows. Just the outline. This line. Just separate the legs. Got all of it? Hold on. That's just around the shape. Inside the shape. right, separate the legs. All right, you're good. Taking a long time to trace a horse. Let's pick it up. All right. Looks like everybody's done. If I checked you and you're good, check your partner. Good. Go ahead and carefully take the tape off and then fold the tape back. All right, we're ready to start. Go ahead and put the horse paper in front of you. You only need one if everybody can see it. It's just a reference for everybody to look at to know where the shadows are. You're going to need... Oh, go ahead, everybody's attention. Ellen. All right, everybody, Darren. You do not need the small brushes. A big brush is all you're going to need for this exercise. You're going to need the water in front of you. So everybody has their own water. Everybody has their own palette with red, yellow, blue, white, black. Go ahead and grab one of the brushes, one of the big brushes. Resist the urge to dig into the bag if there is a bag on your table and grab a small brush. Oh, that would be good. All right. So a lot of you have painted before and a lot of you have not painted before. We're kind of a split group in this aspect, right? We have some people that are pros at painting, have a lot of experience. We have some people that have never painted before. Or maybe you've painted with acrylic or oils but never watercolor. Watercolor gouache is the most difficult kind of painting because once you make a mistake, it's hard to go back over it. Every time you change colors, Peggy, every time you change colors, I want you to wash your brush. We're going to start light colors to dark colors, right? So out of the three colors, what's the lightest one? White. White is not a color, it's the absence of color. Of the primary colors that you have in your palette, which one's the lightest? Right. Lightest in value. Okay. When we do this, we're going to have yellow on the light side, red as the middle values, and then the blues as the shadows. Red is the in-between. Red can touch yellow, red can touch blue, but blue should not touch yellow. Right? That's what will happen. What are you going to get? Green. Yellow plus blue equals green. So we want to avoid that. All right. Got it switched on. All right, so I like to take my brush and just with clear water, no paint on my brush, I'm going to water, and I do not care about coloring in the lines. I'm an artist. Don't tell me what to do lines. I do what I want because I'm an artist and I know what I'm doing, and you will know what you're doing if you follow along. Don't let those lines be the boss of you. All right, water down real good. Now, if we look at our reference and recall the elements of light, you can get a little bit more expressive with it. Just clear water. You're not going to make a mistake. The elements of light, the light source is from above and it's making a cast shadow. In the light areas, we're going to just water down a little bit of yellow. So when I say a little bit, I mean so little. You could get a little bit stronger, but I'm going to play it safe because this is an open lesson and it's being recorded, and I haven't done this exact demonstration for a couple years. So, I learned this lesson at college from a Chinese watercolor teacher. His name is Chen Arthur Wang, and he barely spoke any English. And so it was very important for him when he communicated, he spoke in metaphor. He would say warm color, cool color, blending, boom, and it blew my mind. He was the best teacher I ever had. I could barely talk to him. So this is his lesson that I received at Columbus College of Art and Design. And I studied color theory for a year and a half, and I took his watercolor class on a whim. And I did not understand color theory. And then he did this lesson, and I was like, oh, okay, the light bulb went on. I understand color now. It was like that scene in The Matrix where you go a little bit darker, Rebby, a little bit more yellow pigment. Easily, you can get a little bit more yellow. Really goofy with the water. Down there. Okay. And don't worry about the lines. Same with you, Darren, being a little conservative. If it's a lot, if it's really strong, then you can spread it out. Okay? No, just in the areas. Look at your reference. Look at your reference. In the light areas. Cool. It could be a little more on that side. Sally, you can get a little bit stronger with the yellow. A little bit stronger. Oh, maybe you drew your shadow, but you didn't need to. I can really help you out a little bit. You can't came in late and missed a few things.
Oh, whoops. I did not notice that at all. Well, you should thank me for standing in front of it. I know.
All right, while it's still wet, looks like everybody's ready to move on. I'm going to water down this red. Now, it's going to seem powerful. Don't be scared of the power. Don't be scared. Dab it in there. Let the water do the work for you. In the Nice, Rabbi. Excuse me. Excuse me. What we're doing? It's a little strong there, so what you do, no. You can just touch it to your brush, and your brush is going to suck it up and touch it to your, you're still paying attention to the lines. I don't care about those lines. Those lines can't tell you what to do. See, I'm going to mess it up for you just to make you upset. That should prove a point. Okay? All right. Sally, let the water do the work for you. Messy. All right, good. All right, now, here's the tricky part. We cannot let the blue, touch the yellow. Right? And you notice my red is really starting to spread out. It's fine. Not worry about painting in the lines. Go in, take a little bit of blue, put it in my extra, water it down a little bit. I'm going to get a nice purple, but I need to be careful. Oh, my yellow, I touched the yellow. It's fine. Fine. No, it's not the end of the world. But I'm not putting the yellow or the purple, I'm not putting the blue wherever I want. I'm looking at my reference and saying, where's the darkest spot? Oh, that's a little strong. I know what to do. Add a little bit of water, smooth that out, let the paint do the work for me. All on the other side. Now, can anybody tell me, just while you're painting and listening to my voice, why would I leave the underside of the belly? Why would I paint a little bit less blue there? Who can tell me? We've talked about it. Why would I leave a little bit less? I can dab it out. A little bit less dark there. What's happening? What's happening with the light? Reflected light. That's right. Alright. Now, know what you're saying to yourself, Mr. Bijan, it's crazy. We do not have a white horse. We have a tie-dye hippie horse that belongs back in the 1960s. This horse is not a white horse. Mr. Bijan is a crazy person. Just wait. I promise you, yes, I am crazy, but when it comes to art, I know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm doing. That is enough. Let me move my camera a little bit. That is enough. Right there. Ooh, Darren, get a little strong. Easily getting a little strong. Remember, don't let your blue touch your red, or touch your yellow. We're done, let it dry. We're done, let it dry.